Hey guys, guess what? I like Mario. And you know what else I like? RPGs. And with two spectacular Mario RPGs, both slated to get faithful and gorgeous remakes soon, I wanted to step back and appreciate just how amazing Mario's RPG adventures are. I mean, there's only one Mario RPG I actually don't like. That's why I want to take a deep dive into the unused and obscure facts of Mario Luigi Superstar Saga. Why this one? Well, I would say that this was one of my most played video games of all time. And when you've played a game endlessly to the point that you know every corner of its world, you're bound to be fascinated by the kind of stuff no one cares about. Which is why I wanted to take a deep dive into this game as a grown-ass man, and highlight some cool regional differences, unused content, obscure facts, and show off some interesting supplemental material like some ads for the game, and stuff by some of the developers. First off, I'd like to clarify that this video isn't going to be an exhaustive list of every unused thing in the game. These are just things that particularly stuck out to me. First off, did you know? The Japanese version actually came out a few days after its American release. The game released first in North America on November 17, 2003, and later in Japan on November 21st. There are actually quite a few differences, many of which are so minor that it almost feels like a day one patch, like this cool D-pad symbol during the playable Toad intro. Other things like Rookie's eyes being changed from green to black really feel like last-minute changes that couldn't be fit into the international release for whatever reason, possibly due to time constraints. There's some real minor changes here. A few sound effects got updated, but the most notable is the change in the chest opening sound when you go to the pause menu. Here's the North American sound. And here's the Japanese version sound. In the Japanese version, they have a little marker for which coffee blends you've already made with a cute little EGAT icon. But for whatever fucking reason, they're just not in the English release. Literally unplayable. Seriously, I cannot overemphasize how much these changes feel like a balance patch, actually. For example, the drop rate of items from various enemies were changed. Most notably is how Boomerang Bro, oh, I'm sorry, the Beanerang Bro, drop a piece of gear called the Oho gear, but only in the Japanese version. This item is actually unused in the international release. One of the most noticeable changes are these heart blocks added to the Japanese version. They might look familiar, and that's because they originally appeared in Paper Mario, and would go on to appear in future Mario & Luigi games, including this game's remake. They fully recover Mario & Luigi's BP, and only appear in 3 areas in the entire game: Bean Bean Castle Sewers, Oho Oasis, and Teehee Valley. There are a lot more regional differences, but so many of them are so minor that I really just want to get right to the unused content. Check out this cool thank you for playing screen that you would have seen after completing the E3 or kiosk demos of the game. No, thank you, Mario. Seriously though, I'm actually going to start off by talking about the unused things found in the final game's files. We'll talk about the prototype later. There's a lot of unused or unfinished sprites in the game's files, like this early design for Lady Lima. Pretty cool. She looks way less like an old lady here. Here's a closed version of one of those books you can find in the Bean Bean Castle library. You know, the ones that give you gameplay hints. There's unused sprites for this super cool hooded bean character. God, he's so fucking cool. For the longest time we had no idea what this guy's deal was, but we'll delve into that a bit later when we talk about the prototype. The Fighter Fly enemy has a very different unused design that's much more in line with his look in the Mario Bros. Remake. Hey, check out this cool green question block. It's exactly the same as the regular one, except green. Okay, let's dive into some unused enemies now. Hey, check out this cool enemy. I'm gonna give you a couple seconds to guess what its name is. Alright, got your guess? Okay, if you guess Get Me, then you win $1 million. You also get to be my best friend forever. Now this might seem like a regular Goomba, but the main difference is that this one has 5,000 HP and gives 999 experience when he dies. Interestingly, in the Japanese version of the game, if an enemy had 5,000 or more HP, the counter would never go down. This was so that scripted enemies could never be killed under any means, and this was likely testing that. There's also this second unused Goomba who has the incredible name of The Monster. I, of course, will be stealing this name from my secret secondary online persona. Also in the game's files are 2 unused Goomba palette swaps, the Mossy Goomba and the Pop Goomba. The last unused Goomba is the Para Goomba, who actually has unique animations. This guy in the palette swaps probably didn't get any use since you stopped fighting Goombas entirely after you leave the Koopa Cruiser. In the game files, there's stats and even unused animations for a Sergeant Starshade fight. This was likely going to be for the Bros Attack tutorial. The last unused enemy is a random hooligan you would have thought called Nice Guy. Damn, we really do live in a society. Nice guys can't even get into Mario games these days. How embarrassing. Weirdly enough, this is the only enemy in the entire game who's hard programmed not to attack, and that includes all the other unused enemies. Okay, next I want to take a look at this guy. Technically it's not an unused enemy, but due to the way it works in battle, you can't actually ever see its name. Well, it actually does have a name. Time Bomb. Wow. Well, the name can't be seen in-game, it's actually in the game files, and gets mentioned in the Nintendo Power Strategy Guide. They also kind of remind me of these sick bombs from Mario Sunshine, but these fellas don't get a cool name for whatever reason, despite looking completely different from regular bombs. Now, I want to get into the infamous cut cameos in Superstar Saga. Pretty infamously, there are a bunch of cameos that various Nintendo characters would have had at the cafe, depending on what drink you'd make. These cameos had full sprite sheets finished and dialogue left in the game's files. Initially, Professor Egad would only appear for the Woohoo blend, instead of making an appearance for every blend. Wario would have shown up for the Hoo-Hoo blend. Interestingly, Wario has never shown up in a Mario RPG to this date. Closest you can get is Booster, I guess, but he's clearly a different guy with different priorities. Fox McCloud would have shown up for the Chuckle blend, which is kind of funny considering he never actually had a game on the GBA. Next up, Olimar and a bunch of tiny Pikmin would have appeared for the Hee Hee blend. Next up, Samus would have appeared for the Hoolumbian. Since she's in the power suit from Super Metroid, I guess that means this game is canonically between Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion. The Excite Bike Racer would have appeared for the Chuckochino, sporting a modified version of his NES sprite. Finally, Link would have appeared for the Teehee Espresso. His sprite comes right out of Minish Cap with a piece of kanji meaning temporary in the top right. What's strange is how all of these cameos have fleshed out dialogue and animations, so they were likely scrapped very late into development. However, an extremely base YouTuber by the name of Sean Mac Productions is doing God's work by restoring these cameos into remade cutscenes for you to watch. Check him out if you're interested. As of writing this, he's only done Wario and Fox, but I'm sure he's planning to do the rest. What an absolute lad. You know, it absolutely cracks me the fuck up that Olimar treats this situation like one of his logs, even going as far as to name Mario Marleo as if he's another creature. It's a shame that this scene was cut since Olimar's best dialogue comes from this cutscene. I have just noticed a strange, unsightly green creature standing next to the Marleo. It could be a dangerous life form. I feel like I should attack it before it attacks me. Jesus, dude. You didn't have to do Luigi dirty like that. Also, the cashier says, "Long time no see, buddy," to Link. It makes references to fairy fountains and dungeons, so I guess these guys are friends? All of the EGAT devices you receive in the final game are still based on each of these cut cameos, but when these cameos were still being used, you would have gotten actual items from each character's respective game. These items are the Game Boy Horror, Wario's Gold, Gold Ring, UV Lamp, Energy Tank, Excite Spring, and the Triforce. Wait, what the fuck do you mean the Triforce? Link bought a coffee with the Triforce? Anyway, you gotta appreciate how during the development of the Game Boy Horror got upgraded to the Game Boy Horror SP. I've got a few more unused things I want to talk about in the final game, but this is more of miscellaneous stuff. There's some unused dialogue for a Game & Watch item you would have gotten. Unlike the other funny Nintendo cameo items, this actually would have been a key item instead of an equipable. Actually, remember this one for later. There's also an unused key item called the Spiritual Bros. Who knows what this was going to be for? If I had to guess, this may have been related to those hand powers you receive since you get those from spirits, but there's no data associated with this text. There are two extremely cool unused debug rooms. You can sort of tell from the way they're structured that these were meant to test the layering system, platforming, NPCs on layers, floating objects, and everything else that makes the game work. There's a few videos on YouTube going through them. There's also this pretty sick cutscene debug menu that uses the coffee machine for its GUI. It's mainly just here to let the developers jump right to cutscenes, but it's still cool either way. Hey, check out this sick unused battle background. Hey, it kinda reminds me of some other game. Actually, as it turns out, every single battle background in the game is way longer than you'd usually see. This was likely in case an enemy or boss would use a scrolling effect of some kind, but this happens so extremely rarely in the game that most of these backgrounds are cut off for the entirety of the game. Speaking of unused backgrounds, there's also this extremely sick unused battle background from one of the University room tile sets. It's completely programmed in, but no enemies actually spawn in any room using the tile set. Same goes for the Constellation room in the university. This battle background is completely unused and it's seriously gorgeous. It's a shame no enemies use it. And that's it for unused content in the final version of the game. But later we'll start talking about unused prototype content. But in the meantime, let's get into some cool obscure facts. Hey, you know this guy, Swerm? Did you know he makes an appearance outside of this game? Well, sort of anyway. The enemy Snawful from Bowser's Inside Story actually has what appears to be a fossilized Swerm attached to a fossilized Chain Chomp. I'm sure you already know that Gino makes a cameo appearance in the Star Stash Smash minigame. And while that's cool and all, I bring it up because the very last screen of the credits says this. I have no idea why, but this just cracks me up. Like, this is literally the last thing you see before the game ends. A lot of the aesthetics of Alpha Dream's game started in the Japanese-exclusive RPG Tomato Adventure, including some enemy designs who would later have their designs reused or be inspiration for new designs, like the enemy Yatatsuri being the inspiration for Hermie 3. Here's Yatatsuri's first appearance in the unreleased Game Boy Color version of the game, known at the time as Gimmick Land. You know, actually, now that I think about it, if this Game Boy Color version is the first Hermie, and the GBA version is the second iteration of Hermie, then Hermie 3 might be referencing how this is the third time they've used this design. Speaking of references to other games, in Bink's Barrel minigame, if you manage to erase 4 entire rows of barrels in one move, a Stalfos from Zelda will appear in the bottom right corner. Hey, you know this cool enemy? The guy with just question marks for a name? Well, you might know that these are actually two separate enemies who shift places with each other, have completely different stats, and a different look and attack pattern in the final game. In the strategy guide, however, these enemies are actually both properly named, Puffercheap and Sharkbone. Wait, Puffercheap? Wait, that can't be right. The Puffercheap is already in the game. It looks like this. What the hell happened here? Well, as it turns out, the Nintendo Power Strategy Guide made a little oopsie-boopsie here. They actually list this enemy as just a regular Cheep Cheep. Okay, so it turns out the enemy actually is called a Cheep Cheep, but when it inflates, it changes its name to Puffercheap. So, what the hell? What about the enemy in the guide called Puffercheap? Well, turns out its name is actually the Sand Cheep, which went completely unused in all official sources until the remake, which refers to it by name in its Easy Mode hint system. I mean, I guess that's an explanation for it, but I don't know how Nintendo Power just got the name wrong. Well, whatever, moving on. Hey, you remember this guy, Spangle? You know, the little starfish dude who goes into your inventory so you can put him on top of Hermie's shell? Apparently he's supposed to be a Star Kiss according to the Japanese name, and his appearance in the remake's Bowser's Minions mode. Did you know that drinking the Tiki Espresso while playing as just Luigi glitches out the stats on the status screen? Doesn't even use the item or anything. Luigi just canonically cannot enjoy his espresso without his bro with him. Check out this minor spelling error. In Fawful's speech before his final battle, they actually spell Cacletta wrong. How embarrassing. Speaking of Fawful, check out the Mario Wiki's example image for the Fawfulcopter. I wonder why they chose this line. Most people are aware of the Secret Bros moves, but did you ever notice that Cyclone Bros is the only Bros move in the game where Luigi's the one to come up with its advanced form? It even has a unique animation and everything. Now, you're probably familiar with these cool movie posters in the Yoshi Theater that show off some movies that literally kill a man to see. It's pretty cute to see Starfy mentioned here, even if he's using an early localized name. But it turns out that Kirby's story would actually get referenced again. In Kirby in the Forgotten Land, of all things. Yeah, 20 years later, this random poster just gets brought up as a cool present code by Elfalin. Seriously, if you had told me that in 2003, I probably would have asked you what the hell an Elfalin is. Hey, check out this cool, extremely ominous ad for the game from Nintendo Power issue 175. Who are you? What does it mean? Like, what do they mean by this? Are they saying I'm one of them? Or maybe I'm both of them? Is this directed at me or at Mario and Luigi? Is Mario and Luigi... are they me? Hey, check out this other ad for the game that uses the same amazing tagline. You know, for whatever reason, this ad uses a cutout of Mario's render from Mario Golf on the N64. And it uses this extremely shitty render of Luigi from Mario Kart 64. There is no life in those eyes. Oh man, this Mario is hot. This Hot Mario ad is actually a promotion they did for Club Nintendo to celebrate the Famicom's 20th anniversary. You could register select games, and with a Famicom-style GBA. And look, Superstar Saga's right there in the corner, so this counts. A second campaign would run in 2007, which featured Partners in Time. It's a shame these Hot Mario campaigns didn't make it out of Japan. I'm sure they would have sold billions of copies. Last ad I'll show off is this sick, fully animated commercial for the game. It actually uses the style of the game's official art and looks absolutely incredible. You know, I want to talk about the strategy guide for a second. It was seriously great. I would flip page by page looking at the drawings, the enemies, the locations. I rarely ever actually used it as a guide though, probably because I was a stupid kid who couldn't read. Anyway, I noticed this weird inconsistency. They actually list a character named P, but there is no character named P. The P's are actually the Toads of this world, and there's a shitload of them. This extremely cool downloadable poster from the official website just lists these guys as Advisor. Also, why are Queen Bean and Lady Lima in the Mushroom Kingdom? Boy, I hope someone got fired for— Gotta love how the strategy guide includes controls for both the Game Boy Advance and the GameCube. Sure, it says Game Boy Player, but I didn't have one of those as a kid and it confused the shit out of me. This game actually really encourages use of the Game Boy Player on GameCube. It's one of the few games that actually has Rumble support, and it's set to allow the second controller port to control the game, if you wanted to pretend it was a two-player mode, I guess. In early drafts of the game's plot, Toadsworth and Lady Lima were going to have some sort of romance going on. The scenario lead Hiroyuki Kubota had this to say: "I like Lady Lima. She has a tongue-in-cheek way about her. If we had more time to work on it, I wanted to include a romance between Toadsworth and Lady Lima. Parentheses, laughs. The only remnants of this are their hug during the ending." Hey, did you know in the remake you could actually see a portrait of Fawful in the University background? Fawful having a higher education confirmed. Check out this sick promotional drawing that the main illustrator, Masanori Sato, made. Sato is actually the absolute lad who came up with Luigi's iconic striped socks. Seriously, this guy's an absolute legend, and you should go check out some of his art. His non-Mario stuff is weird and freaky. He actually posts a lot of Mario art, including this early concept logo for the game showcasing the true protagonist. While not necessarily Superstar Saga related, I want to show off a few of his Mario related drawings that I absolutely adore. Check out Mario in his cool night walking outfit. And this great sketch of Peach's skull. I'm sure this isn't the first time we've seen her skull, but hey, now you know. How about this cool new brother? I'll be dubbing him the official Wawario. Here's some cool art from the Mickey and Goofy Superstar Saga timeline. Finally, we have these two Gormless freaks. I guess they're like Yoshis, sort of? Gotta respect the striped socks are represented even here. Hey, did you know that Kathy Griffin helped develop the game? Okay, that's not really true, but she was actually involved in a really bizarre promotion for the game. If you went to www.gameboy.com/MarioLuigi between October 16th, 2003 and November 16th, 2003, you would have had the opportunity to submit a knock-knock joke. The person Kathy Griffin deemed to be the funniest would win a brand new GBA SP, a copy of Mario Luigi Superstar Saga, and a GameCube. This promotion's press release comes with some exclusive dialogue from Mario himself. That's right. They got Mario for this press release. He says the following: "Everything that Luigi does makes me laugh. I'm surprised we even complete a level," says Mario. "With Kathy Griffin as our judge, we'll depend on her to keep us in line while she determines a winner." When asked about the plot of the game, Mario then says, "An evil witch steals Princess Peach's voice and replaces it with explosives of all things. Luigi and I work together to recover her stolen voice. Even bad boy Bowser helps us, probably so that he can kidnap her later." Kathy herself also commented on this contest, saying, "I know Nintendo will receive thousands of entries, so I hope Mario and Luigi will help me sort through these. I'll be a tough knock-knock judge, so make entries original, because I won't hesitate to throw those who write bad jokes into knock-knock jail." So, what joke won the contest? Well, let me tell it to you. Knock knock. Who's there? Pencil. Pencil who? Your pencil fall down if you don't wear a belt. I feel inspired by this joke, not only to wear pants with an elastic waist, but to really listen to others about my personal style. Also, I like the notion that Pencil is a character in the joke. almost like a person with a funny name. When I think of naming my first child Pencil, I'm laughing already. That's the idea. Get it? Congratulations. Quoted from Kathy Griffin. Truly incredible stuff. Alright, I think it's finally time we talk about this prototype. While writing the script for this video, a prototype of Superstar Saga was dumped online on October 24th, 2023. Thanks to the people at CodeBound for dumping this, and for the great in-depth video provided by Hard4Games. I'd also like to shout out the Tumblr user Snawful for their incredible deep dive into some of the unused content of the prototype. There's an overwhelming amount of differences, and if you're interested, I recommend checking out CodeBound's documentation files, or the cutting room floor on it. I won't be doing an in-depth dive into this or anything, but I do want to focus on some of the stuff I find the most interesting. If you do want a deep dive on every single difference, I highly recommend checking out Skawo's series of videos on YouTube. I'll put a link to all of these in the description. First off, here's a look at the original title screen. At this point in development, they were still using the absolutely wonderful Japanese logo for the game. Also worth noting is that there's no Mario Bros option on this menu. The file select looks completely different and even includes a bit of flavor text for what you need to do next. This would eventually become a mainstay feature in the franchise. Worth noting is that Bean Fields is referred to here as Mammalian Plain. The battle transitions use this funky black and white mustache design instead of the final star effect. Originally hitting the Bros block would get you unique blocks, and Bounce Bros is called Bound Bros here. Mario and Luigi's death animations use a completely different sprite, and matches their death style from the 2D Mario games. Being revived in this build actually references the Mario Bros. New Life animation of all things. There's a few early enemy designs in this prototype. Hey look, it's the Fighterfly design from before. Here's an early look at the Yo Bro, who looks like a total freak here. Oh shit, they got the noise in this game? Here's the Chuck guy, who kinda looks like a weird umbrella or something at this point. The laser snippets look basically the same, but they got these sick goggles on. Sniper builds look way different, and honestly, I fuck with these designs. The big eyebrows and gloves make these dudes look like professionals. Now here's a few unused enemies in the prototype, courtesy of Snawful on Tumblr. First off, check out this early beamed up Hammer Bro. He's very similar to the final design, just kinda green. Here we've got some fucked up bean Goombas. They're called Saya in the game files, or Peapod. Here we have this absolute abomination. It's some kind of chomp dog with two heads, possibly a beta version of the Mecha Chomp. Here's a real weird one, an evil version of Disc-kun, the mascot of the Famicom Disk System. I kinda like him though, but I've always had a soft spot for that toast-looking dude anyway. Check out this roll reversal Lakitu, with the Cloud riding the Koopa. Kinda fucked how he's using a whip here. Here's a weird spiny thing with a melon bra. It sorta reminds me of Midbus for some reason. Next up we have a flounder with a foot mark on it. Not much to say here. Here we have a normal chain chomp. He's kinda weird looking though. Here we've got a potted piranha plant sporting a nice cyan body. It's pretty usual to see these guys in pots now, but this was one of the first times this was ever done. Okay, last one I want to talk about is... Wait, isn't that fucking Jinx from Mario RPG? I'm guessing he was probably going to be included since they'd already made the deal to use Geno, but I'd imagine Square Enix didn't want any Mario RPG characters to get, you know, too much spotlight or anything. And that basically covers all the prototype enemies. Last topic of the video I want to talk about is some of the cool miscellaneous stuff scattered around the prototype. You know, I've been waiting my entire fucking life for this, but we finally get to know what this cool bean guy's deal is. Apparently he's a bean magician and would have activated a quest. Courtesy of Skawo, here's some footage of the beta. So yeah, this guy activates the quest where you have to talk to 8 NPCs in the dark. And what happens when you finish the quest? Well, he gives you the Game & Watch item from before. The Beanlit quest is also in the game, and that also gives you the Game & Watch. If I had to guess, this item might have been a placeholder for optional key items or something. Back to some beta sprites, check out this prototype Bowletta sprite. Jesus Christ, how horrifying. You know, it kinda looks like an even earlier version of this Bowletta, back when she sported a cool Larry Koopa hairstyle. Hey, check out this cool early save block. What, is that not ape enough for you? Do you need everything to be gorillas? Fine, well check out this early design of Bink where he's not a dead skeleton guy. God, now I feel even worse for what they did to this guy in the remake. How embarrassing. Look at these adorable P designs that got replaced with the oh geez. There's an entirely unused cutscene involving Yoshi begging you for food in exchange for the Beanstar piece. Here's some video footage of the sequence, courtesy of Skawo on YouTube. The last thing I want to talk about is this adorable tired Wiggler sprite we don't see in the final game. Not much to say, it's just kind of adorable. And that basically covers everything I want to talk about in this prototype. I could probably keep going on and on about test maps, minor differences, and make this an hour-long nightmare, but the video has to end at some point. I mean, I could keep rambling on about how Luigi has dialogue and calls Mario Nissan here, and that you have to defuse a bomb in the Mushroom Kingdom. Okay, seriously, I think that covers it. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video and learned a few things about Mario and Luigi. I can't say I won't do another video about this. Maybe I'll go back and do a Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga bonus video, you know, in case anything new gets discovered in the prototype. But for now, I think that just about ends it. Okay. While editing this video, I saw this fucking line? What do you mean? What do you mean Cackletta is Queen Bean's younger sister? How do you know that? Why was this cut? What the fuck is happening in this prototype? Thanks to SupperMarioBroth, Snawful on Tumblr, the Mario Wiki, and the cutting room floor for compiling sick facts about the games. Thanks to Skawo for the footage of the prototype. And finally, thanks to CodeBound for dumping the E3 2003 prototype.